More and more people, meantime, focusing on buying Canadian in a bid to offset the impact of the U.S. tariffs. CTV's Scott Hurst joins us now live with the very latest on this. Scott, it's kind of moments like this where patriotism comes to the forefront. A lot of people saying, I'm going to make an effort to go out there and buy Canadian. How is it impacting Canadians, at least immediately?
Good morning, Beatrice. Immediately, this is, of course, a shock to our economy. And if the tariffs continue, this would continue to have a ripple effect through all aspects of our economy, down to you and me as the average consumer. 2.3 million Canadian jobs, according to the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, are tied to U.S. exports. So right away, a whole lot of instability just when it comes to many Canadian jobs. A 25% tariff could shrink Canada's GDP, further weaken our dollar, and for Canadian households, it would cost an average of $1,900 annually, once again, according to the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. But it would also disrupt entire industries like the automotive industry, agriculture, and the energy sector, ultimately making everything from groceries to gas to cars much more expensive. Bottom line, it would be a huge economic hit and create significant instability throughout the economy. According to the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, it found a strong majority, more than 80% of businesses, would be impacted by tariffs in some way. And because of that impact, more than 2/3 of small businesses say they would be forced to increase prices for consumers to offset the tariff impact, Beatrice.
Yeah, not an easy pill to swallow. I mean, it's also causing Canadians to take a harder look at their own buying habits and how they can buy more Canadian-made products. I mean, I remember a couple of weeks ago, Doug Ford wearing a hat that had a very clear Canadian message. It was a product of Canada, but it wasn't made here. So what are some examples, I guess, of things people can do to actually support the local economy?
Beatrice, trying to find buy Canadian is a hard task these days because, of course, for several decades, our supply chains, because of trade agreements throughout North America, have been incredibly integrated. So trying to find something that is purely Canadian might be difficult, but there are some examples as this buy Canadian sentiment is really picking up steam in the face of these tariffs. We've seen, particularly when it comes to alcohol in British Columbia, in provinces like here in Ontario, where they are being restricted for Canadians not being able to buy, let's say, California wine or, Tennessee whiskey, where there are other Canadian options as well. When you go to the grocery store, things like instead of Oscar Mayer deli meats, there's Maple Leaf or Schneider's. Instead of Folgers coffee, there's Nabob. So there are things Canadians can do right now, potentially give them the feeling of control back when they go to the grocery store, when they go to the liquor store, buying Canadian products to keep as much as they can that money in Canada, as this will have a huge, wide-ranging effect across the entire economy, all the way down to everything we buy as consumers, Beatrice.
For sure. We might have to adjust our palates, at least in the meantime. Scott Hurst reporting live. Thanks so much for this, Scott.